Okay friends, if you're intimidated by making homemade gluten-free crepes at home, don't do that to yourself. I have 2 tricks for you for crispy edge, light, lacy, gluten-free crepes, and it is not hard. I'm gonna show you how. Okay, there is not a lot of ingredients for crepes. You probably have all the ingredients in your kitchen. So the first thing is 1 1/4 cup of gluten-free flour, which is 178 grams. Now, I'm gonna throw a little plot twist in here for you. If you have watched this channel before, you know I'm a big fan of cup for cup gluten-free flour. Now, yesterday I made this recipe again, and I made 1 batch with King Arthur and I made 1 batch with Cup for Cup, and I did a blind taste test with my family to see which one they preferred. And I wasn't happy about it, but they all preferred King Arthur. But then it also makes the recipe easier because Cup for Cup has a lot of cornstarch in it. So when you make crepe batter, it kind of makes it a little bit of gummier texture and thicker, which is fine. I've made it work. You just kind of have to spread it on the pan a little bit more. But King Arthur absorbs moisture a lot less, so the batter's a lot thinner. So we have our gluten-free flour, which you decide which one you want to use, and then 3 tablespoons or 33 grams of sugar. If you're doing a savory crepe, you can cut back on that sugar or omit it, and then just 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Okay, and then just whisk those together to combine. All right, for the liquid ingredients, now hang with me here. Here I have 1 1/4 cup of whole milk. I do recommend using at least 2% or whole milk, and if you're doing this dairy-free, then use a higher fat non-dairy milk. But the amount of milk depends on your gluten-free flour. So I would start with about 1 1/4 cup and add up to 1.5 cups depending on your flour. With Cup for Cup, I add the full 1.5 cups. With King Arthur, it only needs 1 1/4 cups, and I'll show you what the batter should look like. And add 2 eggs to the milk. And then I'm just gonna use a fork and kind of whisk that together. So traditional crepes use more milk than this, but this is the first trick of making great gluten-free crepes. Gluten-free flour doesn't absorb moisture as well, so we have to cut back on the amount of liquid. Okay, when I add this to combine, I'm gonna do this in stages. Pour about 2/3 of it into here and then whisk it to combine. And then your batter will be pretty thick at that point. That's fine. We still have more milk to add and we have the melted butter. So then go ahead and add the rest of the milk in. Okay, once you have your milk and your eggs whisked in really well, then you could add your 2 tablespoons or 28 grams of melted and cooled butter. Now the reason I like to add the butter at the end is because even if it's cooled, I find once it's whisked into the cold milk, it has a tendency to like re-solidify. So this just helps with that. So it works in smoothly. This is the point where you're gonna assess if you need more milk or not. So it should be thinner than a pancake batter, so pretty runny. Now I will say, if you're using Cup for Cup, go up to the 1.5 cups of milk, but the batter's still going to be thicker. It is not going to look like this because of the cornstarch. Do not add more milk to it, because then what's gonna happen is you're gonna cook them and they're just gonna get gummy. What you'll do instead is, I'll show you when I cook them, but you're just gonna kind of spread the batter on. I preferred the Cup for Cup version. I like the taste of it better, but the King Arthur flour makes the whole process easier too, just because the batter is thinner. So the second easy trick when making gluten-free crepes is just to wait a little bit. So I'm gonna set my batter aside for about 5 minutes while I preheat my crepe pan to medium-low heat. That just gives extra time. There's a lot of liquid in this recipe. That just gives extra time for that gluten-free starch to absorb the liquid so you do not get gummy crepes. Before we start cooking, let's talk crepe pan options. So honestly, I just have a 10-inch non-stick skillet. I like the 10-inch better because I could spread my crepe out better and it gives me more room around the edges to flip it. They make crepe pans. You could get them on Amazon. They're pretty inexpensive, but it's basically just this with a shallower side. So not a big deal if you have a good non-stick pan at home. that will work fine. Just make sure it's about 10 inches. The other thing I have, and I don't know how I have this. I'm guessing it's like when you get married and they give you the gun and you could register for whatever you want. I probably put this on my wedding registry, but this is an electric crepe griddle. And what this heats up, it's a nonstick surface, but I still recommend like brushing on oil. You put your batter in here, you dip it in, and then it just cooks. I feel like gluten-free crepes need to cook a little bit longer, and I didn't like how it just kind of cooked one side of the crepe. It'll work, but do not run out and get this thing. I mean, maybe you have one in your basement like I did and you could give it a try, but this is not something that you need to make crepes. The other thing that you will want to grab before you start cooking is you could do 1/4 of a cup measuring cup, but I have a 1/4 cup cookie scoop, which I love these things. So I just scoop the batter up a level amount and then you trigger it out on the pan. That way you know each amount of crepe is the same amount. I also have wax paper, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna rip about sheets about this big and then take those and rip them in half. And what I'm gonna use these for is once the crepes come off the griddle, and if you wanna keep them warm, you stack them up in between the sheets of wax paper. If you don't want to keep them warm, I also use these because I will lay my crepes out on a wire rack, let them cool completely, and then once they're cool, then you also can stack them up between sheets of wax paper and warm them up when you're ready to eat. All right, so the first thing you're gonna do, even though I have a nonstick pan, is I'm gonna just lightly brush it with some oil. I just have vegetable oil here. Then I have a level 1/4 cup scoop. I'll put it in the pan, and you take the pan and tilt it to run the batter around. If you're using a thicker batter, like for cup, then I just take a silicone spoon, and what I do is I spread the batter around. I'll still do that even with the King Arthur just to get a nice thin lacy crepe. And then this just cooks for about 20 seconds. What you're looking for is right here, see how it starts to bubble? The top of the surface starts to become opaque, meaning you don't really see the liquid anymore. And then once you see that, you're ready to flip that over. And then you're just gonna let it cook for about 20 seconds more. Gluten-free crepes take a little bit more time, so I would err on the side of slightly overcooking just to make sure that moisture is all evaporated. And you can move your crepe over to your rack. If you are planning to eat these later, then what I would do, I would not stack them. I would kind of lay them out on the wire rack for them to cool completely before you stack them up. Okay, before I get to finally dive into my plate of goodness, I wanted to show you a couple extra things. So this is how I store my crepes when I'm making them ahead. I have them with my sheets of wax paper in between after they've cooled, and then I'll just transfer it to a Ziploc bag. And this can be frozen or popped in the fridge for a couple days. And if it's frozen, this is the other reason why I like the wax paper. You could just pull off what you need from it. And then this is such a handy little tool. I use this for corn tortillas as well. It's just a microwave tortilla warmer. So you can, I would remove the wax paper between, but just stack up how many crepes that you want to re-warm, and you would pop it in here and then just microwave it for about 30 seconds. And then this also doubles as a warmer too. So if you're making them and you want to keep them warm, this is another way you could keep the crepes warm before you serve them. I'm just doing straight up whipped cream because why not? But you could do Nutella, you could do fresh berries, you could do a peanut butter and banana. Oh my gosh, heaven, heaven. I love the buttery taste of it. Adding the little melted butter. They're thin, they're lacy, they're rollable, they're foldable, they're all the things you want in a crepe. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video and enjoyed these tips, be sure to like and subscribe to this channel. Thank you.